Yo, check it. Marriage ain't what we thought it was, but stick with me and let me explain. But definitely like, share, and comment. I've been trying to get you to understand that man is the image of the one true living God. When we fell in frequency, we were deceived into creating with the serpent, also called Hugger. This is what created humans, a new race that has never been to heaven or the underworld because they was created here. So creation is marriage. It's missing genetics. This is only possible because they have spirits, which is stars. But as I mentioned plenty of times before, this wasn't supposed to happen until it started the war. To keep it simple, there's 3 different types of entities that appears as humans. The serpents, they keep their original bloodline before they mix with man. This is why they inbreed. The humans I'm talking about. But this also includes clones, androids, holograms, other beings that died in the war in heaven, and underworld beings. Then there's man, the fallen angel of the true living God's image. And specifically men, this is why they place liens on our bodies. So we know everything is energy, right? We are literally in the center of the universe of all of existence. And everything has a toroidal field at all dimensions. Man is on top that possesses the positive energy. Woman is on bottom possessing the negative energy. This is how it's possible for us to create. This is why they say you gotta marry before you have kids. Because when you have kids, you earn a marriage. So I put a few videos together, right, that you may or may have not seen in order for y'all to have a better understanding of how they've been changing their image of a dragon to our image of man through marriage. Yo, so check it. We're omnipresent, multidimensional, sentient beings because we're made in God's image. I know y'all heard that we are light because we are literally the stars. As I said countless times before, we are energy. This is why we have entities called light bearers because they trapped our energy in this matrix. So in this dimension, what we call energy is electricity. And electricity look a lot like stars because they're both forms of energy. So originally, the place we call heaven was the only space in existence. And it consists of man, which is God's image, the Pleiadians, and the Greys, along with other creations that we made. So this means there was no abyss, which is the black hole we're currently in, because we fell in frequency during the war in heaven. This is why anything from heaven that is now here in the underworld or the abyss is called the fallen angel. Anything from the underworld that went into heaven because of our fall, they're called archangels, meaning archon. So during our fallen frequency, it created the ice wall, which we call Antarctica. There is way more land than what we know of. We're just in the middle of Earth. So in Genesis, the beginning, it literally tells you that we're basically in the black hole, and what they did was recreate everything from heaven and place it in here with us. So we don't know that we fell in frequency and we're not in heaven anymore. So the black hole ultimately led to the creation of the underworld, and the underworld led to the creation of the pit, is what we call hell. Now y'all should watch my video. It's called The Creation of the Underworld. It literally explains Genesis. It explains the beginning of everything of where we're at right now, but not the true heaven, this matrix. So none of this existed until God El wanted to create his own race of gods to serve him. But these entities end up being a lower vibration. But some was able to manifest spirits, making them sentient like us. And these beings are the 7 gods of the 7 planets that took over Earth. Also the entities mentioned in the Bible and created the Bible. I share these solar cameras all the time, but this is May 3rd. This is what's outside the Skynet. We can't see it, but they project the images upon the Skynet so we don't notice that we aren't in heaven. But as y'all can see, planets are just larger stars, and they have poles that follow tracks. This is how they're able to orbit around us. But like I mentioned before, back in 2014, which is really 2012, Lilith, which is a god of Venus, broke the poles off Earth, preventing our original reset, which caused the Mandela effect. So it's taken over 10 years for us to come back to the same position for the reset, which should be in 2025, which is the last year for this Earth. So back to this, notice how Mercury blends in but not Jupiter? It's because Jesus is the god of Mercury. They mentioned several times that Jesus is the closest thing to the image of man. This is why his planet looks like a regular star, because we are the stars. Where y'all think the term superstar and all-star come from? So during the creation of the underworld, the entities became more and more man-like because they experiment on us trying to recreate the image of God. Here's another view. You can see the poles now on all of the stars. Again, which is us. As I said before, we are multi-dimensional beings. We have more power than the elites because we are the original entities of existence. We have abilities we can't understand because of their brainwashing. Anyways, y'all be guys. Peace. The biggest lie ever told is where we live. They knew instantly it'll change your perspective on existence, who you are, and what you are. Most of us gotta remember when we first started school, right? When we walk into the classroom, the first thing we see right by the door is the globe. And then soon after, you learn it. And it placed on the bottom of the lies you about to experience for the rest of your life. This is why it's so hard for people to wake up, because you gotta forgive all the lies you've been taught since kindergarten. If you thought ending a relationship was hard, Try restarting your whole life and knowing everything's a lie, or just a change of perspective. But I'm about to prove to y'all how important we really are. First of all, we are in the middle of the solar system. The geocentric model is correct. All the planets we see besides the sun and the moon is the covenants of Azazel. Mars is Azazel, the second creation of the underworld that created the rest of the underworld planets, besides Neptune, which is his father. So look at the position of Mars. It's the middleman. Venus and Mercury want ascension in heaven. Jupiter and Saturn wants ascension in the underworld. Then notice it says 6 stars. So outside these stars, Uranus, Neptune, which is United Nations. This is why the 7 underworld planets is broken into 2 groups. So since we're in the middle of the solar system, this literally shows our solar system in the middle of the galaxy. They're trying to trick us by saying the sun's orbit, when really it's the main spiral of the galaxy orbiting around our solar system, which has its own spiral between all of known existence. As you can see, it's called Orion's arm. So this means we are in the Orion constellation, like I've been telling y'all. It's on the celestial equator, and its brightest stars are the blue white Regal and the red Betelgeuse, which is the blue and red Caecina. Also, the Orion's belt is the 3 kings. So notice how the way they say Earth equator is the same as outer space equator, meaning once again we are in the middle of the galaxy. Here's an example of us in the middle. Just imagine all the other planets orbiting around us within a space. So back to the 3 kings, which is the stars of Orion's belt. Also the wise men, or the Magi. They follow the star of Bethlehem, which is Venus, who is Lilith, who gave birth to Mercury, which is Jesus. They say born king to the Jews because they're talking about the race created from the jewels, which is God's image. Notice how the way they said they seen his star rose because their other vessels are the stars of Orion's belt. This is how they knew he was born, because his star appeared before them. This was how they was able to find him in lower dimensions. Also note that the child's mother is Mary, which is Mary Magdalene. Remember that song, Mary Had a Little Lamb? She is also Lilith, the god of Venus. Here's what the 3 gifts was and what they symbolized. And this is the reason why they gave them gifts. Notice fully man and fully God, because of the recreation of the image of man out of all those planets to make him of the underworld. This is why he have his own race now, Lucifer race. Yo, y'all need to hear me out on this one, and I'm hypothetically speaking for a heads up. So y'all remember me telling y'all that the Supreme Court made it legal to own a synthetic human. A synthetic human has to have cDNA. cDNA is created by using RNA on DNA. So hypothetically speaking, like I was saying, let's say the House 19 used RNA on your DNA. And it also has something called Lucifer race inside of it. Y'all plenty of times before that words are spelled, even if it's spelled differently. We all know what a race of people are, right? So let's just say a new race is created of Lucifer. And of this race, the ingredient alone will allow your blood to glow. So you'll be able to be seen in the dark, meaning you will be a light bearer, right? Technically. And the reason for this is because the underworld does not have the sun. It is a dark place. Why do you think the eyes look like this? Well, the glowing blood is in order to be seen. The reptilian eyes is in order to see in the underworld. They have a test right here called Satan. It tests the Lucifer race inside of your blood. So basically, they're seeing how good the RNA bind it with your DNA in order for you to be a new race. We cannot forget the COV word actually means possession of an evil spirit. In other words, they're testing to see how long this possession will last of your body. If Lucifer is also Jesus, and we see how many people think Jesus is God, although he clearly says he's the son of God. Now he has his own race. They will be fully compatible to take this GMO food. When the rapture happens, Jesus will be sitting at the gate of heaven, destroying anyone that doesn't have a higher frequency than him. Meaning, if you're not a God, you're not getting through. This is mainly for the souls that was created here and never been to heaven. This is why you have to be cleansed and tested before you make it through. This is also why you hear that say you need Jesus' permission to get to heaven. Back to this. Just imagine if you had a bad side called Lucifer and you had a good side called Jesus. You're just one being. So originally, there was no middle ground. Because Jesus was the middle ground. Now can you see how he's good for saving people, which is the gods, and bad for enslaving people, which are really negative entities? His planetship is on a frequency that allows good. This is where duality comes from, Jesus Christ. But the thing is, you can't serve 2 masters. Jesus will literally be the closest thing ever to duality. And this is something we just cannot possess. It's either we're on a positive or negative frequency. There ain't no in between when this rapture happens. Hope I cleared up a few things for y'all. Anyways, be gods. Peace.